Okay. Hi, Alfred.
Hi.
Okay, we just start to making an update about the 18 SDG initiative, because this meeting was intended to be the space meeting, but it was postponed. But we decided to maintain the meeting and to make an update about the campaign for the 18 SDG. That's going very well. We are each day getting new co-promoters. And yeah, I was showing the list.
Yeah, I did want to clarify one thing on the list.
Okay.
But, when it's time.
Yes, sure. So let's see quickly the list of the promoters. We have the NSS International Committee, but now
Okay, hold it. That's sorry to interrupt, but that's what I wanted to clarify. It's not just the International Committee, which, by the way, Jim Crisafulli belongs to also. All of NSS, the whole organization has joined.
Okay, so we will change it.
Yeah, so it's the International Committee that coordinated it. That's all.
Good. Action item. All NSS. Perfect. Then we have the Mars Society with Bob Zabrin, the Lifeboat Foundation with Eric Klein, the Human Space Program of Frank White, the Beyond Earth Institute of Stephen Wolf, the Expanding Frontiers, Friedrich Jennett, right? Yes.
Right, Rick Jennett.
Genospace is another global network. The International Moon Base Alliance, created by Hank Rogers. Yeah. And ExoTesla from Serbia, by Boris Petrovic. This is a company, Informatics India, from India. Then the Advanced Space Civilization Initiative from Kuwait. The Ogba Educational Clinic from Nigeria. Free Astroscience from Italy is a group making scientific outreach. Then Space Renaissance Italia is the Italian chapter of SRI. La Société Nouvelle d'Astronomie from France. The Orion Astropreneur Space Academy, Hong Kong. The Spaceflight UK, this is the organization founded by Jerry Stone, our member and director of our board. And Space Renaissance International France is the French chapter. I know that they are coming on board also the Space Renaissance Germany and maybe Space Renaissance India. So we will have more chapters. And of course, they will be, because we know that even the National Space Society has chapters.
Yep.
Around. If they want to join, they will be very, very welcome, of course. And but I don't have the references to invite them, so maybe you can do it, Al, because you're also.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the alliance so far. I think it is growing. It is becoming an important thing, and also. Just 2 minutes before you joined, Al, I was talking with Sam Coniglio, that's here with us today. And he is the founder of the Space Tourism Society. And he said that he will propose to the Space Tourism Society to the board to join our alliance. And okay, Sam, I think, yeah, we had this.
Great.
Exchange. Yeah,
great.
And that will be a great thing, and I believe we can attract even more organizations and really to make something representative of the space advocacy community and movement in the world. That would be very important. I think that this will increase our possibility to make couples, to consider our proposal. Even now, even as we are, when we have NSS and the Mass Society and the Lifeboat Foundation on board, I think it's already a certain waking group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. So what will happen? What will happen is the first week of June, there will be a session at Copos in Vienna, and NSS will present a text that we discussed it together. We are in agreement on that text, and they will do it representing not only themselves but also SRI and all the promoter organizations.
Right.
So there will be also Bernard Foing, our president, will be at Vienna following the couples, so he can coordinate with you, Alfred, and Carlo. Right. Maybe, do his best to have the proposal together.
Our statement will be is scheduled to be given the morning of June 5th.
June 5th. Okay. Great. And okay.
I was going to say, then we can release all publicity about this. I just didn't want the delegates to be blindsided by, to get the statement before we even had a chance to give it, because then there would be some delegates that would resent that. So, that's why we're kind of holding back on, passing out this statement ahead of time.
No, we will not disclose the statement before this, June 5th. Okay, so June 5th is the date. Yes, we present at couples.
Yeah. Adriano, in my presentation, I'm going to make some mention of how farming in space will satisfy some of the UN goals. So, but I'm not going to mention the 18th one that we're proposing. I'm just going to talk how it fits into some of the UN sustainability goals and would enable them.
So,
and I assume that would be okay. Just mentioning, not mentioning the statement, but just pointing out how farming technology from space would make things like water use and restoring nature on Earth much more practical.
Yeah. So okay, just to remember it. Next Monday, yes, it is the 22nd of May. We will have a webinar by Thomas Matula in the frame of our Space and Essence Academy webinars. Mm-hmm. We will speak about space farming and water in space and all the bioagriculture and this kind of things.
Yeah. Application of that technology to agriculture on Earth that would make agriculture on Earth much more sustainable.
Yes. And I think this is an important point for our campaign, because Tom will explain how having outside farming, space farming, will help agriculture on some technologies will be very useful also on Earth. So
yeah, the transfer of technology,
yes,
water recycling, control environments, farming, and so on.
And it is important that this thing will be made into in space communities managed by humans and not only by robots, because that would be a complete experience on that, and only being on site you can really learn and to resolve the problems that will raise and so on. So I think it's very important to demonstrate how we need the humans to expand and not only machines and
right. And,
Human-
and farming means humans because the farming supports the
exactly,
humans.
exactly.
But it's
Thomas,
also-
can I ask Thomas a question?
Sure.
Where are you going to give this statement? Because I'm unclear. Are you going to give this at Popus or somewhere else?
No, it's the webinar that we're doing next week.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It'll be part of the presentation because I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about how technology transfer from farming technology in space benefits agriculture on Earth. And so I'll tie that into the goals. And then I'll also talk about how it also creates STEM opportunities.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, then what will happen? The 12th of June, we have the first virtual event of the 18 SDG, where all of the co-promoters will be present in this meeting, and each promoter will make a short speech about 6-7 minutes each, giving his or her own rationals, their understanding, their interpretation, their motivation, why we are proposing the 18 SDG. So this meeting will be broadcasted on YouTube, and possibly we hope that all of the promoter organization or the one that have some infrastructure to do it can rebroadcast, so we can have a real multi-channel broadcast the 12th of June to reach as much people as possible. Of course, we will make big advertising on that, and all our committee will make advertising, and yes, so we try to make this event really a big event, and also attracting possibly media, generalist media, to watch it and to relaunch it on the media and things like that. Okay. Another step is the 18th of September. 18th of September, we will have a panel at the UN General Assembly in New York. It will be a virtual or maybe hybrid, but because we don't know yet if we will have a room in New York at UN. But however, in any case, we will make our panel. It will be 2 sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The morning is dedicated to space for Earth. So space technologies for Earth, for an inclusive development. The space technologies can be used by emerging countries for their agriculture, for their water management, for the forecast of extreme climate events, and also technologies to contrast the climate change and all these kind of things. So this will be the morning. In the afternoon, we will have expansion of the civilization to space. So the civilian space development and what is needed to go outside, to really go outside, to really let civilian people, untrained people, non-astronauts, but normal people, to go outside and to work outside. So this is primarily a financial problem. So the main problem is to decrease the cost to orbit. And this okay, I think we are on the right road to that, because SpaceX is working hard to test the first fully reusable space vehicle, the Starship, and other companies are following, and we know that China is trying to copy the same technologies, and therefore we can hope that these technologies will be available and fully operative maybe in a couple of years, and this will decrease the cost of the transport to orbit, very much around $1,000 a kilo, that more or less now, to around $100 per kilo. That's the next step. And when we will be able to produce fuel in space, then the cost will go even downsize even more. And we will reach a situation, maybe I cannot say in how many years, maybe I don't know, maybe we can target 2030 or a little bit more, I don't know, that space travel will be a little more costly than air travel, than air flight and civilian aeronautics. And that will be the real start of space settlement, because it will be possible, it will be profitable to move people to work and live in space. But financial, and this is, okay, this is a point that we, SRI, we are sustaining, because the financial and economical and commercial point is very, is key, of course, but also the biological issues are important, because if we have technologies to put people to work in space, but that people will not be protected from radiation, from cosmic radiation, the solar radiation. They will not have simulated gravity to contrast the problems, the health problems that come from low gravity and zero gravity. Then it will not be possible, because we cannot say to people, okay, they will be workers. They will be. They want to have their rights. They want to be protected. They want to, and if they have to live there and to inhabit there, they must be allowed to have families and to have children and to make a normal life. Therefore, there are some scientific challenges, not only financial challenges, but scientific challenges. We, Space Renaissance, we are humanists, and we propose that these priorities will be, let me say, the second leg. One leg is the financial leg for space settlement. The second leg is biological concerns and issues, and not only protection from radiation and simulated gravity, but also green environments, so agriculture, what we were talking before with Thomas, space farming and food and all these kind of things. Very important. We cannot think that people will live for years in an iron box, you know. So we have to reproduce the Earth biome outside, on the moon, on Mars, on infrastructures and these kind of things. So okay, so this is what I'm trying to do. What we're trying to do for next weeks, it will be to issue one newsletter per week, each one proposing an argument. And okay, I want to show you my list of arguments that I've made today, and I've sent it to the committee. Just a moment, because yeah, I think we have to talk to the people as largest as possible, to the people, to the normal people. That means that we have to explain also the very basic things that we were discussing, we in the space community, we were discussing maybe 30 years ago. But if you go in the street or in any place where there are people and you start to talk about space settlement, you will understand that they don't know, and they don't understand why humanity have to expand. So this is our main task. So I made a list of arguments, and I hope that we will be able to make one newsletter each week, but not all newsletter written by me. I have asked to Al and to the other participant of the other co-promoters to choose one or more of these arguments, and each one of them to write from their point of view a text of no more than one A4 sheet. So just to see, just to go through very quickly, a true sustainability, what it is. This is very important argument. No, we cannot talk about sustainability only thinking about reducing our activities, our industrial activities, and so on. We cannot say that everybody have to travel through the Atlantic Ocean by catamaran, sailing, no, sail catamaran. Okay, that would be that would mean reducing the industrial activities, reducing ourselves simply, and reducing civilization. So sustainability is how we can allow civilization to keep on growing. That's why we are proposing space. The real reason, the true reason why we are proposing space development, because we want to allow civilization to keep on growing. And 8 billion people with the climate change and all the problems and resource problem, etc., can do that only by expanding. So this is the true sustainability. This is a concept that we need to be able to explain in few lines, in a simple way that can be understood by everyone. Then space for on Earth, space to boost inclusive development. That is the space development for emerging countries to reduce poverty, etc. on Earth. Why the UN 2030 agenda is obsolete? Because it was written before the reusable launch vehicles. It was written before 2015. So space was not so important before 2015. Well, for us, it was already important. But in the perception, the general perception of the UN, they didn't consider space at all. Then another point, civilian-led space development, who will pay for it? Who will earn profit? This is another point to develop. And space development, why it is urgent? Why we say before 2030 we have to kick off this process? Then what it takes to kick off, techno-financial conditions, and what it takes to kick off biological conditions. And human civilization, all eggs in one only basket. So this, I remember we were discussing this thing in the 90s. In the 90s, when we made a group called the Greater Earth. Yes, it was developed in the 90s, in the early 90s. And we were discussing all these points, all the eggs in one only basket when we will be outside Earth and with some community somewhere else, then the possibility of extinction of our species will be halved. So this is an important thing, and I think a very important rationale to explain clearly. Then a trans-terrestrial economy. So the trans-terrestrial concept, trans-terrestrialism is due to Dr. Marie-Louise Heuser, that she is a space philosopher. She's teaching space philosophy in several universities in Germany, and she is our head of the space philosophy laboratory of the Space National Academy. Then the demographic issue, why we cannot decrease and we cannot be steady. So it means why we have to keep on growing, also from the numerical point of view. Why the space explorers should be the best friends of space expanders? Because if we don't start to expand and we don't relaunch the economy, the global economy, in a few years there will be any more money to make space exploration. Therefore, even the space explorers should understand that their survival depends from the space development, from the civilian space development. And also this is to be when I say space explorers, I mean the people that only think about exploration, and they have some kind of I don't know, allergical reaction when we hear the word settlement, space settlement. No, we know very well these people, and we have to discuss with them to explain that we should be friends and not adversary. Then the huge delay in experimenting simulated gravity. The main differences between space exploration and space settlement, the anthropological difference between these two dimensions of space. Reversing the global crisis and relaunched economic growth at double figures. Why SDGs 7, 8, and 9, that are the industrial development SDGs, conflict with 13, 14, and 15, that are the environmental. Why they conflict if in the closed world, but if we think in an open world, they will not be conflictual anymore. Why human species shall keep on growing? This is a humanist rationale that was developed in several articles and papers, and even in my book. And we have to try to put it in a one page, in a very simple statement. So this is only what I was able to think today, but of course there are many other arguments, and maybe this work can go ahead and making a plan. Then we can also think that when we will have these 16 newsletters and maybe more, 20, 30 newsletters, we can collect everything and make a small book also that can be then marketized on Amazon and so on. And okay, for more arguments, we have a beautiful paper written by Al Globus and presented at our third World Congress in 2021. That is exactly the me open it just to okay, countering can you see it?
Yes.
Because, okay, it is in the same window, so you can see it. Countering objections to space settlement. This was presented to our Congress, but I think the same paper or a previous version of it was also presented at the ISDC in 2021 by Al Globus. And it's really a good, let me say, repository of answer to objection to space settlement. I think we should take inspiration also from this paper, thinking about in writing our narrative, because yes, what we will try to do in this year, 2023, is to build a narrative of the space settlement, and simple narrative to explain to the people. Okay. So Sam, in writing a book about improving comfort and sustainability for future space travelers, hopefully it will explain the topics you all are discussing in a way that a broader audience will understand. Exactly. Yes, yes, Al Globus is a member of the NSS. Yes, I know that. Yes.
The big challenge with all you're trying to do here, Adriano, is how to reach out to a broader audience, because sometimes we get bogged down on the technicalities or too much details. And so you have to make sure whatever you're talking about, proposing to the UN or even to the outside world, keep it short, keep it simple, keep it clean, concise.
Yes.
Using the language of TikTok or whatever. You have to make sure that the younger generation is involved here, because we can talk to each other all day because we're in a little bubble. But remember, it's the kids who are the future, the younger generation. And so that's what I'm doing with my book, is I'm trying to find what concepts and ideas that they can relate to, besides just you and me, about the importance of space travel, making it safer and more comfortable and sustainable for the world, and explaining things like, the space spinoffs that NASA does right now. All the technology that we develop for space comes directly back to Earth, creates new companies, in fact, and new things that can help make life easier. But when we have a large number of people living off world for long periods of time, a lot of new ideas come along about how do we keep these people alive and happy and recycling and doing things to be more efficient, take those efficiencies and bring it back to Earth. Everything from bathrooms to refrigerators to sewage treatment plants to everything that affects the environment, because humans are messy creatures. I mean, animals all make messes, and we're the messiest of them all. But the lessons we learn from going to an extreme environment, such as space, we learn how to be more clean, or shall we say more efficient with what we're doing. We're going to make messes no matter what, but we can find new systems to be more efficient with dealing with those messes, recycle them as much as possible, eject them if you have to. I'm learning lots about pyrolysis as well, and as well as incineration systems, or maybe using radiation or vacuum of space as tools for designing new systems to help us live longer out there. If you got to live out there, you might as well take advantage of that stuff that's out there. And so that's all covered in the book, written in a manner that I hope that a broader audience can understand.
So maybe you can you can also extract something from your book to make a short text, one page, not for a newsletter.
The kids call it TLDR. I can do a TLDR. That's what the kids call it. It means it's a one-liner. I can do a really short one-liner explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to reinforce what Sam just said. Especially with the younger generation, it really pays us to be concise and get to the main message and not go on and on. They won't go on. They won't read it all. They won't listen to it all. You got to get the main punch in there early.
Correct.
Yeah. So, okay. This is what we will try to do, and of course also with our webinars, two times per month we have our webinars, and we have many people invited, and of course to every lecturer we will ask to tell us their understanding of the 18 SDG and what it should be done and so on. So I want just to show you what we are going to do from now to the first months of 2024. Our calendar is already full. Okay, so we will have Tom Matula on the role of space habitat technology in developing robust, sustainable communities on Earth. Then Dr. Franz Renz, Red, Green, Sunset, and Other Chemical Mars Stories. Then Arthur Woods with Patrick Collins and Andreas Vogler will talk about cislunar energy synergies. Then Pranvera Aizemi, exploring hydrated asteroids via reflectance spectroscopy and outreach of Kosovo. Michel Hanlon will talk about recognizing and protecting the history of humans in space. So about the mission of for our mankind. Peter Weiss of Spartan Space will talk about inflatable habitats for the Moon and Mars. Seth Shostak, Seth Shostak, that is in the SETI, SE, Search for Extraterrestrial Institute. Science looks for the audience. Rick Tomlinson, Steve have to tell me the title of his speech, but he will. Jerry Stone and Werner Grandel as Academy Space Habitats Committee webinar. They will talk about Island Zero, that is a demonstrator of the O'Neill Island 1, and other ideas for space habitats in the Lagrange points. Then Scott Bryson of the Orbital Farm, the risking large-scale life support system for space settlement. Daniel Futzeler, she is an artist, imagination of the secret universe. Lucas Mix, we don't know yet what to speak about. And okay, this will be our Christmas special 2023. Then we will have Remo Rapetti of the Moon Village Association about the contribution of humanities and social sciences to space exploration. Frank White will give a lecture. We still don't have his title. And Alfred Anzaldua will talk about orbital debris transformed into a treasure that is the industrial exploitment of the orbital debris. And Julio Prisco of the Turing Church will talk about space expansion, cultural consideration, long-term perspective, and spiritual implication. So as you see, our calendar is full up to 19th of February, and also already we have other 2 or 3 webinars that still have to be confirmed. This is the past. We started in 2021, in August 2021, and so we made already 40 webinars each month, 2 per month.
Sam just volunteered to do one also. Sam Coniglio.
Yeah, Sam Coniglio. Yes, of course. He made a webinar. I think
back in 2021, I think.
Yes. No.
Oh,
in
2022.
January 22. Why space tourism?
Oh.
Is not just for rich people.
Oh, okay.
I have a new one if you want it. So
fantastic. Yes, we can do it. We have to do it. Perfect. So please, no, I will write you tomorrow. Okay, just to make an.
Sounds good.
I remember. Okay. Great. Okay, so. Okay. The popular slogan, share the moon. Dennis. Okay, maybe you want to say something about that? Dennis, still with us?
Yes, thank you. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. I got involved in all of this back in 2017 after retiring from practicing Earth law. And I quickly realized that there was a tension within the space communities between those who wanted to use the standard mechanisms of private enterprise, and those who were more inclined to pay attention to public policies. And that especially comes into play concerning whether or not private enterprise can establish exclusive zones of activity in order to recoup profits from the investment that they have made for mining, farming, whatever. That tension, by the way, is being played out in the new working group, the Space Resources Working Group that was established by UN Copious, in particular their legal subcommittee, that's going on right now. They had meetings last month, end of the March, and also we'll be having them during the June Copious gathering.
Yes.
Yeah, and there are some of us who believe that we should institute and make part of any new international agreement a couple of concepts. One is to share access to all resources. This is the flip side of being non-exclusive. The way to avoid exclusion, and by the way, exclusion is what is forbidden by Articles 1 and 2 of the Outer Space Treaty, although it goes by other names there, free access, non-appropriation. Excuse me. So that some formal recognition of sharing access to space resources should be part of going forward. And the second has to do with information, sharing information. In particular, sharing the discovery of outer space resources by private companies. Again, this goes into the whole thing of, well, shouldn't they be able to keep that knowledge as a trade secret and then profit from that knowledge since they've invested in finding these new resources? And that's recognizable, that it would be a government taking if that information was forced to be disclosed. But there may well be ways to compensate the people for that. And what I'm starting to do with organizations like SRI is to challenge people to come up with that type of mechanism. Ideally, any payment, let me back up. If someone discovers a resource, a private company, they've added value to it. How do they recover their investment in having added value to that resource? The ideal way would be that whoever made profit off of that resource, be it that entity or some other entity, would contribute back to the entity that did the exploring. That would work easy if they were all from one country. But if it's international, the mechanism doesn't seem to be there. But that would seem to be a fair topic for any future international agreement. And I hope that will come up during the talks of the new Space Research Working Group. So that's where I'm coming. By the way, I've started an organization called the Space Treaty Project, which formerly incorporated and became the Space Treaty Institute. And that's our whole purpose, to encourage this type of sharing of resources and information, to help people, to help countries come together and form a common future. I know the word common is not looked upon highly, but ultimately we're all going to be going out there together. As you as one of you mentioned earlier on, space explorers and space settlers should not be at odds with each other. There should be ways for us to work together. And I think that the tough nut to crack here is this idea of how much do we need to guarantee to a company so that they can make a return on their profit or to make even the settlement sustainable, and how much should be shared to accommodate the public policy considerations of sharing space with all. Anyway, that's where I'm coming from on all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Quite interesting, and for sure we have to understand more. What are the implications of all these kind of things? Because of course, who make an investment should have a return, because it's normal. If we want to continue our normal civilian activities outside Earth, so we have to think about that it is cannot be a law quite different because we are outside. It must be an extension of our law systems, an extension of the civilian rights, or the civil rights also, because so far we only had explorers, military explorers, so they don't have civil rights. They are spendable, poor boys. Okay, so, but if we think about living and working over there, we should have our rights, our civil rights, guaranteed by the constitutions and by the chart of the chart of the rights of UN and so on. So this is another.
And I agree with all that.
Yeah.
I'm a great promoter of the rights of individuals, the rights of settlements, and we need private industry because of their resources, talent, enthusiasm, and creativity. We need all that. But there are also laws concerning monopolies, and there are public policies that recognize that monopolies could be a bad thing. And we all know what happened 5 centuries ago when countries fought each other over resources from new worlds. So we're just trying to avoid repeating those mistakes.
Exactly. And
well said.
another thing. Yeah, I know that everybody wants to talk about that. Because it's a
Well,
quite interesting
I just
point,
want to
but-
mention, you might want to look at how the U.S. Geological Survey and the U.S. Bureau of Mines work with companies today. Because there's at least about 100 years experience there of how they actually work with companies on that type of information that you might want to explore.
And I already have started that. Thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
And no, what I wanted to say that came to my mind just while you were speaking. Okay, I didn't make a reflection on that before now, but I think from this point of view of sharing of information and sharing of resources, it could maybe be very different if we talk about the moon or we talk about asteroids. Because the moon, you know, the moon or Mars, they are worlds. No, the moon is a small world, and it's very important from the strategical, let me say, astropolitical point of view, to have base on the moon. Both the U.S. and China are working for that, to have a base on the moon. That will be, and not always, not everywhere on the moon, but at the poles, because the poles are the most promising locations, no? Because there is a light continuously, there is so the energy, there is water, there is a lot of things. So we will see that the powers of Earth will be competing in the best hypothesis. They will be competing to have their bases on the moon, and in the worst hypothesis they will be fighting for that. But okay, let it be. So what I wanted to say is that the moon is a thing, is here, is 3 days far from Earth, is very much interesting from many points of view, for the resources, for the astropolitic, for location, for everything. But if we think about asteroids, that is quite another reality, I think. Asteroids are millions. So if let's say a company make a mission to and discover an asteroid, I think it's a quite different case. I'm not a lawyer, so I to put more than this title on the table. No, I don't want to say it is so or it is another way and so on. However, it is I think it will be different, because to find an asteroid is like when you go in the wood and you find and you find a very fine mushroom, no, porcini. Okay. To find a rich asteroid, maybe it would be different from the legal point of view with respect to make to make a recension on the moon and say this is mine, this piece of ground is mine. I think it will be maybe some lawyers that we have now today, Wes maybe can say also something about that. I don't know, but for sure when we try to figure the legal context of the space settlement, we have to take in account these differences and this kind of things, I think. Yeah. Celia want to talk? Wes want to talk? No, Celia was just saying hello. Ciao, Celia. Glad to see you. And so maybe Wes want to say something? I suggest you to unmute because you are muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to point out that it's important not to drag some of the same mistakes when talking about any future resource governing structure that have been made on Earth into that. For example, one idea came out of the UN working group about applying the International Seabed Authority type structure under the law of the sea. I think this is a huge pitfall. That organization was structured top down, shielded by any input from the private sector in its initial formulation. And it leaves little to no input, and it's been pretty much a disaster because there's been I don't think they issued any licenses for recovery. So it's important to avoid the same pitfalls of that. That's all I got to say for right now.
Yeah, this is Tom. I went to talk briefly because I was fortunate. I had a course in the law of the sea that was by one of the delegates. And one of the reasons they set that up is because the emerging nations didn't want competition from sea mining. And they still don't want competition from sea mining. I mean, Argentina and Bolivia right now, they're looking to nationalize their lithium resources. And the last thing they want is someone mining lithium from the seabed to compete with them. So it's designed to be cumbersome for private industry because they didn't want private industry to find new sources of materials. And that's recognized. What's also need to recognize is most of the mining that takes place in space is going to be for the benefits of the people living in space. These models of exporting to the earth are not really valid when you start looking at the economics of it. You know, what's going to be exported from space is going to be knowledge and manufacturing goods. It's not going to be raw materials except for maybe a few very limited cases. But most of the people thinking about space are still thinking about the old commodity-based models instead of the modern 21st century technology-based models of economic production.
Can I say something about the International Seabed Authority? Years ago, I was a note taker during the sessions for the International Seabed Authority in Jamaica. And even then, I could see that it was horribly authoritarian and top down. And it's no coincidence that that's the law of the sea actually is a pretty good framework for a lot of things. But if you look at part 11 that set up the International Seabed Authority, you see all of a sudden talks of a regime and authoritarianism and so forth, which would just be killer in space. And it's very similar to some of the language that you will find in Article 11 of the Moon Agreement. So I totally agree with Wes Fairs, and I can't emphasize it enough how right he is about this. We have to really avoid that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Tom. You know, one of the great news is Saudi Arabia is leaving the Moon Agreement, and hopefully it'll be one of many other countries that are going to leave it.
Yes, and Mexico participated in the Hague Group, the building blocks of space governance, resources and governance in space. And Mexico also had, if I remember correctly, had signed and ratified the Moon Agreement, and I would look for them to start to pull out someday too.
And Australia, I think, will also do it.
Yeah.
And Belgium and Netherlands were also likely given Luxembourg's new space resource law.
Yeah. The trend is towards, thank goodness, the trend is towards a bottom up. The participation of private industry with cooperative agreements with, something, best practices, for instance, and so forth that evolve into eventually customary international law, but customary there's an earlier stage of customary practices. And if they're best practices, they're not always best practice, but if they are best practices, it can be very, very good from a bottom up type of thing. and maybe codified by treaty someday. But if you try to codify this stuff ahead of time, it can't keep up. It becomes stratified. It becomes, and it can't be flexible for what's coming in the future. You can't predict how things will evolve. And you need some sort of frameworks that can evolve with practices, with especially best practices.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think this discussion is somehow very advanced, I think. And we need to, well, at least to get informed, no? The first thing is now to share information among us about
get it out.
What are the hypotheses, what are and to tell you the truth, today I can say I was very interested by the things you said. I didn't even understand if there were some oppositions or not among different statements that I listened. So we definitely need that someone simplify for us, not for the people outside in this case, but for us, to simplify what are the concepts, what are the possible opposition, no, ideological opposition or political opposition, or I don't know. Of course, all of our ideas, all of our concepts that we try to formulate are more or less affected by our orientation. If we are more keen to the free market and the free commercial initiative and so on, or we are more oriented to the, let me say, collective regulation, no, and so on. So if we are more oriented, in the past century, we would say left or right, no, or libertarian versus coercitive and collectivist and things like that. But we think that aiming in the direction of AIG will free us from the left and the right views. Many years ago, I started to say, let's stop thinking left or right, let's think AIG, let's think in the AIG direction. That's very much better, because in the horizontal, on the horizontal dimension, we don't have, we cannot develop anymore. So whether we go right or we go left, we will do nothing. We have to go up. So this okay, is a simplification, of course, but yes, we have to understand why our humanist concept of development come in to help developing new concepts that allow us to make business, because we have to make business, taking profit of our investment, our initiatives, and in the same time avoiding to kill competitors. No, the good competition should be fair, and nobody should die. And why it will be possible? Because in space there is abundance of resources. So we don't need to kill our competitors, because there is enough for many trillions of people. So why the hell should we kill each other? Unfortunately, the moon will be an extension of Earth, probably from the geopolitical, astropolitical point of view. Therefore, it will be probably a confrontation ground. But if we go outside, if we go to the near Earth asteroid, if we go to the belt, asteroid belts and more, the moons of Jupiter moons and so on, then really we will access to another dimension, no? Where we don't need to fight. We don't need We will compete, of course, because it's our nature and we can do
Yeah.
anything than compete. But there is a big difference between competing in a fair mode and to compete in a mafios, monopolies, and this is mine, and you stay outside, and this kind of behaviors, that we know very well on Earth.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
you're thinking of that old Wild West model, and that's not how business is done today. I mean, mining companies don't engage in conflict; they cut deals. If they go into an area or they find an area that has resources, they don't compete. They cut deals with each other in terms of developing it. And that's how business is done today. And when you have billions of dollars of equipment in hand, you're not going to get into conflict. That's governments get into conflicts. So if you want to see a conflict, see a government that is operating on the moon agreement, get in conflict with one that isn't. But for private entities, it's just easier for them to cut a business deal. And that's what they
Very
do.
often.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw in a sort of an image here that when I look at space exploration development, I envision a petri dish with a very rich agar. And what exploration does provides an opportunity to throw various things into this agar, and they start to combine in very interesting ways that were never imagined before. And some pretty amazing creatures will crawl out, or opportunities. I mean, what it does is underscore the commonalities we have as human beings and the challenges that life on Earth and elsewhere presents to humanity. And when we recognize these commonalities, this is what will draw humankind together, I think, and help reduce the conflict and enhance the collaboration in ways that are truly going to be sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. One more thing, you mentioned, Adriano, about the moon and the polar regions. Actually, it's the governments that are interested in the water over there in the solar panels. For industrial development, that's probably the worst place to be on the moon, is the polar regions. Water is not that great a resource on the moon when you have abundant oxygen. All you have to do is bring hydrogen and you can make all the water you want. So it's not going to be that big a resource as people are thinking it is. Now, if you actually start doing some econometric modeling of lunar development.
Okay, so what we have made today, we have given information about 18 SDG initiative, what we are doing, what we will do in June, in September, and so on. And of course, all of us should help the campaign, also spreading the call to sign our pledge. You know that we have a pledge on change.org. And okay, I will now post, maybe all of us already has the address, but I will post it in the chat the same, because this address should be read as much as possible. Okay. Now we have collected about 140 signatures. That's not very much, because yeah, we opened our campaign since 2 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And sincerely, I hope that it would grow very much quicker. It is growing slowly, but yes, in the last 2 or 3 days, we started to have about 8 or 10 new signatures each day. So I hope that is now real self-incrementing, because you know how change.org works. The more signatures there are, the more they advertise. So when we start to have some hundreds, it will grow quicker. No, when we have thousands, it will be even more quicker. So let's work to get as much as possible more signatures, and also the change.org allows to put some money in, some, I don't know, 10 euros or $10 or what you want to do, to raise the advertisement. So, okay, this is the campaign. If there is anything more to say, I think I will. We can close this meeting. It was very interesting. We will have
I have a question only.
Okay, please.
You mentioned the September 18 panels at the UN in New York City.
Yes.
Is that Adriano? Is that part of the ECOSOC activity, the Economic and Social Council, or is that separate from ECOSOC?
No, it is separate. Separate.
Okay.
This is the
Okay.
this is the UN General Assembly 78, and it is open. I think everybody can submit a proposal. Well, now I think the call is closed, but it can be done in the first months of each year, and you can have a session in September. Yes.
Thank you.
That is. You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, then we will have the recorded video. We'll make essential minutes of this meeting and then give it to all the SRI members, because this was a meeting of the volunteers, therefore all of the SRI members. So, okay, I think we can close. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
Ad asta.
Buonanotte.
Buonanotte.
Aloha nui loa.
Aloha.